Welcome to Ask Gwen, everyone. I don't know if you heard part one of this interview done by the fabulous Jodi, speaking about caregiving, good, bad, and the ugly. Let's just put it that way, the good, bad, and the ugly. But Jodi did a fabulous job the first time, and unfortunately, Zoom cut us off because we got so passionate about that subject. So she's back again to interview me as the second part. So I'm going to Miss Jodi, take it away.
All right, all right. I am so excited about this second half. I've got some really good questions for you, Win. But before we dig right in, I want to go over some things that it takes to be a good caregiver. So if you are a family caregiver, or if you work for an agency or some kind of another entity, really listen to this list and see if you truly have what it takes to be a good caregiver. And if you find yourself lacking in any of these areas, it's really important that you dig into those areas and see how you can improve, because you can only care for someone else the way you're caring for yourself. So I'm going to buzz through this list.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And I also have a public announcement before you buzz through this list.
Okay.
For those of you who are caregiving, and for I believe they're doing this in all 50 states now, for those of you who love to clock in the parking lot of your patient's home, for those of you who are on the electronic verification thing, which they implemented in Colorado. Now they're implementing it in Colorado because now they're implementing it in Arizona because they don't want these caregivers to lie essentially of where they are. It has to be done in the person's home. It can't be done in the parking lot. My aide tried to get away with that one last night, you guys, and
Wow.
she got caught by the system that we use. And I said, well, and she was about to text her boss, and I said, try again, try smoke choice again. No, it worked the second time because smoke choice has it set up where to track the aides where they are, whether they're at home, whether they're in the parking lot with me. So basically, no more clocking in at home and then coming to the client's house.
Yeah.
No more that. Electronic verification is here to stay, and end of my public announcement.
All right. Well, thank you for that, because that is very important. It's important for everyone to hear. It's important for those who are caregivers, and it's also important for the ones that are being cared for to understand that they do have some power and they can do something about it. So, all right, I'm going to buzz through this list. What does it really take to be a good caregiver, whether you're a family caregiver or, like I said, someone who is working for an agency? This list is long, so get ready. So take note of things that, if you are a caregiver, things that you're not quite up to speed on, or you don't quite have your ducks in a row. So a good caregiver knows how to empathize, is patient and flexible, is passionate about what they do, is attentive and responds to situations in a timely manner, puts the needs of the one they're caring for first, and takes charge when necessary, is a good communicator, is creative and innovative, is committed and dependable, is supportive and encouraging, is honest and trustworthy, has a sense of humor, can maintain confidentiality, is capable of being emotionally tough, should be physically fit, and have a strong constitution, is able to provide light housekeeping, is experienced in monitoring a patient's vital signs, temperature, pulse, blood pressure, and respiration. I'm almost done. Is able to keep track of the patient's medications and when medications should be taken, and is a consummate professional. That's a big list. Those are big shoes to fill.
Yes.
So
now I have a question, and this goes for most agencies in Arizona. Most agencies in Arizona are non-medical, which, for those of you that don't know what non-medical means, that means, I give you a perfect example. They cannot put the medication in my
Sure.
mouth.
Sure.
I have to put the own medication in my mouth, particularly my asthma medication. But
Sure.
if the client, and I have asked agencies this question throughout the years, and they haven't given me a straight answer because they say they're non-medical. But if the client does need help taking the medication, then, and the family caregiver does not want to do it for some weird reason, they might be working outside their home, then what? Then what? Do they have to get, I presume they have to get special wording to say that you can give
Yes.
the patient.
They would need a doctor's order for actual home health nurse to come in and do
Yes.
that.
Okay. So home health nurse.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to add in,
Sure.
is that you
Absolutely.
guys need, I wasn't asking then what on myself. I know what to do on myself, but I was getting to the point of saying you might need a home health nurse. And
Yes.
I actually had 2 of them in my life, lucky me. But you might need a home health nurse to come help you
Yes.
administer the medications.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Are you ready for your first question?
Yep.
All right. I really want to get into your brain, and I want you to share with us from your perspective, what does it really feel like for you to really have to depend on caregivers? What does that do to your mind? How does that make you feel? What are some thoughts that are bouncing around in your head right now?
And this is public knowledge. People know that my biggest stress in my life is aid management. People know that my biggest stress in my life is aid management. And it's always been a stress.
Sure.
Because the agency doesn't necessarily remind the aides to go to WINS to take care of her. I mean, I've had aides oversleep and then tell me I don't know why the clock did that. And the agency called this person, and she goes, well, what in the world time is it? And am I supposed to take care of when the agency at the time said to person X, Y, and Z, they go person X, Y, and Z. I already took care of when called me, and when got
Sure.
reinforcements, when has numbers outside my aides that I could call in 2 seconds flat.
So what I'm hearing you say is that, you know what, having to depend on caregivers really can be quite stressful, frustrating, and sometimes overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what are some other feelings? What are some other things that come up for you when you really stop to think what it feels like to have to depend on caregivers. And I want you to share this so caregivers can get a better picture of
Yes,
what the ones they're caring for
yes,
what they're going through.
exactly. No, it really stops me in my tracks when I had a incident this week. Someone contacted me at 11 o'clock at night and said, I don't, one of my aides contacted me at 11 o'clock at night and said, I don't feel well. And can you get someone in? And this was at 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, no, I'm not jumping until 6:30 in the morning. And then I said to the person, I said, person, I'm sorry that you're sick, but people need advance notice. So she came in with mask on, and then um, I got coverage for the rest of her time.
Mm-hmm.
But don't be texting people at 11 o'clock at night
Sure. Yeah.
to make
Well, yeah.
them jump,
Yeah. Putting that
because
pressure on you. Yeah.
putting that pressure on
And
me.
you know what? You know what? When you said something so important there, and the thing that is really sticking out in my mind is at least you're able to communicate to that caregiver.
Yeah,
Think about those
yeah,
people that can't communicate,
yeah.
that don't I mean, that's a horrible spot to be.
No, and I have a friend who is quadriplegic, and it's similar to CG, long story how he became quadriplegic, but his mom does all his care management, and he is unable to communicate, unable to eat by mouth, unable to do all that. And she goes, this is the most stressful job that I've ever had in my
Yeah.
life. On
Yeah.
top of having a full time job, I think we all need assistance to assist the parents to
Yeah.
just do aid management.
Yep.
That's what I've decided. I think the next job I'm going to have is become everyone's assistant who wants it, just to do aid management.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah,
Yeah. So important. So important. Anything else popping up for you, or do you want me to move on to the next question? Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. The next question is, and this might be a little tricky for you. And if it's difficult,
Give it.
I'm kind of glad it is.
Give it.
So tell me, this is more for the ones that are being cared for. So you in particular, how important is it that you maintain a good attitude when your caregivers are present? How does your attitude affect the caregiver's ability to care for you?
Well, that's a little bit tricky, and I have learned my lesson the
Uh-huh.
hard way on this question. And I have, because I was calling the agency on every little thing, thinking that they might want to know, well, I got blasted. Let's just put it this way. And the aide goes, I quit. And the aide goes, I quit. And I quit Aeon too. And I quit being a caregiver just because of your attitude. And I'm like, okay, okay, fine. You don't, just because of my attitude, you don't, I was calling the agency just to let them know, and then you made it mountain of a molehill. But I have learned to um, just be positive around my age. The days I don't feel like it, and I have learned that I have people in my life. I'm very lucky that I have the people in my life that can handle me, handle the short fuse, basically.
Uh-huh.
So if it needs to be done, I can go to them, and then before my aides show up, and then they can talk me down of a tree, and then I'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah. Oh,
But I have learned over the years you can't have a short fuse with the AIDS, and this goes for the family, and this goes for the patient. I mean, I had aide quit because my father was having a bad day, and he got mad at her. And so, again, this goes for the roommates, this goes for the family who's around the aid.
mm-hmm.
We all can have bad attitudes around the AIDS.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I really, in my business and what I do, I see that I mostly deal with aging people and, needing to make,
Yeah,
the next steps, but those who have an overall positive attitude, and you said it before, we can't all have good days every day. We're all
yeah,
going to have bad days or bad times. That's just part of being a human. But if we
yeah,
generally have a good attitude, whether we're being cared for or a caregiver, it's going to make the experience so much better.
yeah,
And I wanted to bring that up because sometimes it's easy for us, whether we're the caregiver or on the receiving end of that, to point fingers and say, you should, you shouldn't, you should,
yeah,
just really, really think about that before you start blaming or shaming, and check your attitude. And is there any adjusting that you can do to help the situation? I think that's important.
yeah. Make and if the caregiver needs to take a cool down moment,
Yes,
have at it. Have at it.
absolutely. Yep. Yep. That list that I went over is quite long. And it really does take a lot to be a caregiver. So, I just wanted to bring that up because I think it is so important that we make this a two-way street, that it's never one person's fault. Well, there are some things like if someone is being like financially abused or something like that, that's different. I'm not talking
Yeah,
about the egregious
no,
situations, but in general caregiving, it is a two-way street. And
yeah.
and it is something that both can work on. So what advice can you give those who are being cared for? So people who are in your situation, what advice can you give to them to make the caregiving experience a little easier, a little better?
Try to help the and now I understand that most disabilities won't allow, but I'm
Sure.
young enough where I can help the caregiver. Try and help the caregiver, whether it's raising your legs, doing a bridge so that they can put your pants on, or whether it's simply
Yeah.
throwing away a banana peel, which I tried to throwing away on Kleenex, which I tried to do last night, and my caregiver said, "You can't do that because you're so used to being alone that I rolled up in the direction and tried to throw it away." But help the caregivers as much as you can.
Hmm.
Help the caregivers as much as you can.
Yeah.
To put yourself on a step stool. If your body allows,
Hmm.
step back into the van as they are lifting you up, or put your chair on speed one as they are helping you into the van so that they don't get clubbed by a J hook,
Yeah.
and because that happens to my age. But help them as much as you can, whether it's doing a bridge so they can put your pants on, or holding a toothbrush so they can help you maneuver the toothbrush to brush your own teeth, or whether it's um, putting your chair on speed one, or just saying hello, how are you,
Mm.
or just if it's their birthday, always, 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 which I try to do, I try and write down in my phone people's birthdays.
Sure.
So you can at least say, happy birthday. What did you do today? And make them feel special. It's not all about you. It's not all about you. It's a two-way
Oh,
street, people.
so wise. So wise. All right. I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
So what advice can you give caregivers? What are maybe we can make it and break it down to what are some do's and don'ts for those who are in the caregiving industry? What advice can you give them?
For those who are in the caregiving industry, when you first meet a patient, go in with no expectations. Let the patient tell you what they need, and let the patient or the family member, if they're there, which 9 times out of 10 they are, let the family member tell you what the patient needs. The reason why I say let the patient tell you what they need is because they know their body best more than the family member may. I had a former roommate of mine say, you're going to get to know when, which is true, you're going to get to know when more better than I do because you know her on an intimate level. You need to tell me what's going on with Win.
Love that. Love it. Yeah. Are there any don'ts that you've got for caregivers that, any suggestions, any advice, like, please don't?
After I tell you something confidential, don't go ahead and do it. Don't go ahead and do it. Don't go ahead and hug a person naked if they, which a caregiver tried to do on me. And I said, get off me.
Yeah.
But I was able to, I'm never a quiet mouse about certain stuff. And so if a patient has told you, and this is why I tell all my caregivers that I've been emotionally and physically abused, if a patient tells you, I don't like that, stop. In their ways of telling you, I don't like that, stop, whether it's their own voice or AAC device or through American Sign Language or whatever. Don't do it. Do not do it. And
Yep.
do not ask the questions of what do you do in a major emergency.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
So
not ask
yeah,
those questions.
really what I'm hearing you say is that there's gotta be a lot of respect,
Yes.
and disrespect will not be tolerated.
Yeah, no.
Does that sum it up pretty
That's
good?
true. That's true. That's majorly true because disrespect will not be tolerated. And I've learned that from the get go. And I had AIDS since I was 14 years old. And disrespect will not be tolerated. And if you disrespect me, I shut down and then you can't get a word out of me.
Sure. Wonderful. Well, anything else that you want to say?
Anything else that I want to say? Have fun. Have fun with your patients. I mean, if they want to go have a dance party, and I'm throwing this out there because a lot of dementia patients like music. Thank you very much. They've done studies over the years. Put music on from the IR, and they'll speak to you for hours and hours and hours about memories that they've had as a child or young adult. So if the patient goes, hey, I want to go to the go have a dance party
Yeah.
or go
I love
sit
that.
with family and just go up and see family.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these patients are not in their own homes, although they will go see family, and let's hope the family's coming to visit. Make that happen.
Yeah.
Arrange. I'm lucky enough to have my own car, but for those who don't, arrange that to happen, you guys, because life is short, and spend the half of those dance parties.
Yeah.
I almost said eat ice cream all day, but that's not good. And so that's not good. And so don't take my advice on that one. But have a dance party. Also, another tip I would give you guys, because I've done it, I don't have one now, but the Nintendo Wii is the most interesting video game in the world, because the video games on the Nintendo Wii, it will make you break out a sweat. So if you want your client and they're bluntly, I don't want to work out with a ball, or I don't want to do PT, make it fun. Make PT fun, and then you'll see the biggest smile on their faces if you make things fun. And occasionally say to them, look, we're going on a surprise, and take them out to lunch on the occasion, and take them out to lunch, or take them out to the movies, or just, yeah, spend time with them. And occasionally, along with that supplies, say, look, we're going out for supplies. Occasionally involve their family members. Occasionally involve their family members if the family members are not working. You get involved with, you're already integrated with the families. Now it's time to turn around and get the patient involved with their families, and you can help. You can be the aid and help.
Yeah. You know, just based on everything that we've said over these past couple of interviews that we've done, you know, I'm really getting the sense from you, and I'm going to be honest and tell you that I really never thought of it from your perspective much before. Because I'm always the one that is helping families hire caregivers. I'm the one on that side of it. But when you asked me to interview, I really, really paused and thought about your perspective, your point of view. So I've learned a lot. I think one thing that stands out from everything that you've said is how important it is that the caregiver and the one being cared for make it almost like a dance. You know, you're a partnership,
and it is a dance.
So important to move together, so you're not fighting against one another, so you're not clunking around in this dance, but so you can move gracefully together and move through the whole process. So it's really, I am going to put a lot of it on the caregiver, that they really do need to be understanding and trustworthy and flexible and all of those things. You need to earn the trust of the one that's being cared for. I think that is, to me, in my mind, and based on what I've heard you talk about and what I've heard you share, it's so important that that caregiver earns your trust. And until that trust is really established, it's not going to be as smooth as it could be. Is that right?
No, and it's not going to be as smooth as it could be. And I have watched caregivers go in and out of this community that I'm in, like, no small, including my own, and either they don't like the patient or the patient doesn't trust them. But until you gain trust with the patient, you're going to have a hard time. And so, to the patients out there, please help your caregivers by telling them what you like to do. And please help your caregivers by just doing what you can to help them, whether it's doing a bridge so they have an easier time putting your pants on, or whether it's simply throwing away a banana and then banana peel. But please, 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 if something goes horribly wrong, please tell Jodi and all the agencies, because Jodi in her work could find your loved one a totally different caregiver in 2 seconds flat. And so what I've learned, and use people as a witness, use people as a witness. And if worst comes to worst, document. Say X, Y, and Z caregiver didn't do this when they were supposed to do this. Document, document, document. And so when it comes to having these meetings with the agency, you can show up with the file folder and say,
Yes.
This caregiver is not a good match. Here's why. And instead of saying this caregiver is not a good match, and then when the agency asks you, why is this caregiver not a good match for your mom? You don't have to say, I don't know.
You can say, this is why, and you can show them your documentation.
This is why.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
this is why. Always use a witness, and always, if things get really scary, you can always send a group text message to the agency and someone who knows you and knows the family member that they are taking care of, and let's do the cohesive dance once and for all. Let's not be going through AIDS like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah. Something that you brought to the front of my mind as you were just sharing there, it's so important for both parties, no matter what side of the caregiving journey you're on, no matter what side, it's so important to remember that you can't read each other's mind.
Nope.
You can't read each other's mind, and you've got to be able to communicate clearly your wants, your needs, your desires. And if the caregiver is not able to provide what you're needing, then it's time to talk about it. It's time to get it out on the table. It's time to have a difficult conversation, is what I call it. And you can have a very respectful, difficult conversation. And if it's not going to move in a positive way forward, then I think you're so right. Maybe it's time to start finding a new caregiver. If you can't get it worked out. So well, I have enjoyed interviewing you. You have so many insights. You have so many things to share. This has been so interesting. I've spent a lot of time thinking about it in between our interviews, and I just really appreciate you having me on here. And
well, I appreciate it too.
Yeah.
And the next time you'll hear Jodi, you guys, she'll be doing how to screen the agencies and how to screen the actual caregiver, because there's so many agencies out there, and I know this for a matter of fact. There is living agencies too, which are a totally different beast from the East too. And the living agencies have a little bit more, they can have a little bit more time with the person, get to know the person, because they're not in and out so quickly. So the next time Jodi and I talk, we're going to talk about how to screen the caregivers, how to find the right agency for you and your loved one. And then it's going to be, do you really want to be a family caregiver? And when it's the right time to get the outside support.
Yep. Yep. You know, so many caregivers, family caregivers in particular, and then we'll cut it off after this, but so many family caregivers start their journey under a sense of obligation. And that can really snowball quickly into all the wrong things.
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. And with that, you guys, we'll leave you. And so we tempted you. We threw the fish hook out. So please, please, please subscribe. And I'll be doing more of this series. I have more tricks up my sleeve, you guys, for 2023 than you guys think I do. And so I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast and appreciate Jodi's work. I certainly do. And I appreciate all the caregivers out there who may be listening to this, all who know me personally and they want to try, basically, because I gave them the good, bad, and the ugly and had the lumps in the throat. So I just want to tell you guys you're loved, you're seen, and the patients all loved and seen as well, but especially the caregivers, you loved and seen. Jodi and I may not say anything in the moment, but we watch what you guys are doing and I hear what you guys are doing through the grapevine. And so you're loved and you're seen. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you again, Wynn. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you.